We got some breaking news from college football where Michigan cornerback Will Johnson has declared for the NFL draft. It's that time of year. Johnson was widely considered one of the best defensive players in all of college football this past season. He was limited to just 6 games with a foot injury, but he closes a book on a college career in Michigan where he logged 9 interceptions and a school record of 3 pick sixes there to go on the resume. Take a look at it. Ryan Wilson is always busy when it comes to these mocks. In the top 10, we find Johnson there, maybe a partner in crime with Sauce Gardner with the Jets at number 7. He would actually be the only DB taken in the top 10 if that is the case, according to our Ryan Wilson. More on this, I want to bring in our NFL analyst, Mike Renner. Of course, this is breaking news, but we see this all the time with some of the top guys. Before the bowl game, we get this announcement. Your reaction to Johnson deciding to go pro?
Not a surprise. It would have been surprising if he didn't decide to go pro, because this guy, top 10 to top 15. I think depending on what positions teams will want at the top of the draft, and depending on how that turf toe injury heals, and if he can run at the combine, run his pro day, run good times, I think he very well could be a top 10. But one thing's for certain, he will be probably the second cornerback off the board. Travis Hunter, I think wherever you want to call him, wide receiver, cornerback, he'll be the first one. He's going to be the second one off the board. Where that is, probably going to be high. But yeah, Will Johnson, a heck of a football player.
When you talk about DBs and the turf toe issue, that is something you worry about at the next level, or considering a day-to-day issue. Is that a maybe concern for teams looking at them going into that draft process?
It's not necessarily concerning long-term. It's definitely concerning into the draft process. I think if he can run at his pro day at minimum, and he runs a good time, I think a good time for him is anything 4.5 or under. If he can do that, his draft stock's fine. The fact that he had the injury, not going to be a big deal.
Give me a pro comp that you see in terms of skill set, what we've seen at Michigan.
Oh, gosh. I mean, he's just such a big physical corner on the outside. I think, I'm trying to think off the top of my head here, someone that he reminds me of, maybe someone like Jalen Ramsey. Okay, maybe not quite as athletic, but a guy who at the line of scrimmage can really just bully opposing wide receivers. So that's what he has to his game. A lot of times, you just go back to his tape against Marvin Harrison Jr. a year ago, and obviously an all-world sort of prospect, a guy who was drafted 3rd overall. Will Johnson won that matchup. He had a pick on a slant route in that game, and he's gone up against the best in college football. He's gone up against Roma Dunze. He's gone up against some top #1 type of wide receivers and held his own year after year.
Not to mention, of course, wide receiver year at Ohio State. So as you mentioned, that good competition year to year. We'll see what it's like for him on Sundays going to the league. That news. Appreciate it, Mike Renner, as always. Don't forget, as always, the conversation continues with our Ryan Wilson and Rick Spillman in that front office. Those guys always with the first pick. That pod is popping because we are getting closer to, of course, draft time. And then also the analysis, what goes into those top draft picks. And Will Johnson may be in that top 10. Downloading the guys will have something to say on that pod.